afternoon, everybody. Welcome yet again to another edition of 18 Minutes with 180 Markets. Friends, we always tell you that you must be on trend. You must invest where is the action. It's an absolute must. We never know how far things can go. But what if I were to tell you that you can invest, be on trend, but also find the little bit of hidden gem that maybe has gone unnoticed by the market? With us today, we have such a person. Paul Lloyd is here from Hawkstone Mining, and Paul is doing incredibly interesting exploration work in Idaho in the United States on his Lone Pine Gold Project, and he's going to talk all about it. And with that introduction, Paul, welcome to 18 Minutes with 180 Markets.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the good introduction.
Amazing. Hey, Paul, everybody wants to know people's stories. It's a small world. What is your story, and briefly, how did you get to where you are today?
Yes. I've grown up in Perth. I'm still in Perth and kind of like somewhat stranded in Perth with COVID-19, with our border shut at the moment. And I'm actually a chartered accountant by training, but working in Perth, you're exposed to the mining industry. I was always very interested in the mining industry. And then I started working for a drilling contractor, an international one, and I worked 10 years there as their finance director. So I travelled extensively throughout Asia, and we set up operations in Africa. So very interesting. And we had Australia-wide operations. So you get to know a lot of geologists, talk to them about different projects, what commodity is on trend at the time, etc. And then I left that company in about 2000 and started acquiring projects and sometimes selling the project to a listed company, and also listing companies on the ASX and developing those projects up to different status and different stages and different commodities, gold, iron ore, oil and gas in the US. And I've had a lot of fun doing it and learnt a lot about operating in the US and other countries. And I do like operating in the US because of the political risk. And it's virtually eliminated. When I've worked in Africa, I've had nothing but problems, and the US is just a pleasure to work in.
Well, that's really interesting. And I guess that's a good segue maybe into what it is. Obviously, you have a lot of experience with US procedures, how things work over there, and a good network. Why don't you just talk a little bit about the loans, your projects, and what do you see going on?
Yes. So Hawkstone, we came across this project late last year. We do look at a lot of projects. We are very shareholder focused. The board of directors are major shareholders, so we're always looking at opportunities to grow shareholder wealth. And one of those, as we all know, is via acquisitions. So we are rejecting 2 or 3 projects every week. This project came across our desk, and it had a 71,000 ounce non-compliant resource. Was mined in 1907 and had never had a drill hole in it. So obviously you think, well, this could be a bit too good to be true. So you start your due diligence. And as we continued to go through that due diligence phase, we realised that it was true. And all the verification we did as part of due diligence, legal, operational, geological, came up with the fact that, wow, this is a good project. So we acquired the project for $500,000 US, half in shares and half in cash. And then we started the exploration program. And we are now finally drilling the project, and we've finally put a hole into this project that was mined in 1907. So to give you a little bit of background of that work that was done, we're talking about 6 adits into a mountainside. The deepest adit, number 6 adit, is 150 metres from the top of the mountain, and it's driven 365 metres into the mountainside. And if you just try to imagine in 1907 what sort of mining they did and what sort of grade they must have been mining at to actually do that sort of work and then get it down the mountain and into the town and then sold off. So the gold price would have been pegged back in those days, and it would be very minor compared to the current gold price. So if we can just follow in the footsteps of those hardworking prospectors and drill it using modern exploration techniques, we think we've got a very good asset on our hands.
Absolutely. And also for viewers that don't necessarily know, everybody I think is familiar with like the California gold rush in the 1840s. But Paul, maybe that's a reason why in Idaho, where you are, it has been underexplored for literally 100 years. Would that be accurate in your mind?
Look, these guys, this is up at 9,000 feet. And back in 1907, they would have had issues with water and actually just dynamite and actually mining the ore. It's very high grade. This project is at 18 grams per tonne, a huge grade for a gold project. And the war efforts, different circumstances, people change. When we look at all these sort of projects, a lot of them sort of coincide with World War I or World War II. And a lot of people don't go back to these projects and reassess them. We've seen that in Western Australia more recently as the gold price has gone up. People have looked at old gold mines. Bellevue's one that's a big success story. Historical high-grade gold project. People go in, use modern exploration techniques and come up with huge resources. That's what we're trying to do at Lone Pine. So why they left, we don't really know, but I'm sure it's a combination of many different factors. Why no one else has picked it up? There isn't a huge market in the US for early stage exploration, which is kind of surprising given there's 350 million people there, but the industry is dominated by majors, right? Not just in gold mining, in other commodities as well. And so I think Australians have a higher risk tolerance when it comes to exploration. This one is definitely not a high risk project because we have a non-compliant resource. If we can bring that resource into JORG 2012 from a drilling program that we're completing now, and it will finish sometime early in November with a resource coming out maybe February next year, that will be a big success and a re-rating to the company.
Absolutely. So the way I see it is the story makes sense. How do you pick up a project? It's been stranded. There's been a series of events. It doesn't have quite the same characteristics in that part of the world as it does here in Australia. So it all makes sense. And I suppose that it's also a good segue now. You're talking about you are finally drilling,
Yes.
which is always exciting. Can you just be a little bit more specific? Like where do we stand right now? How many rigs and so forth?
Yes. So what we did was we mobilised a much smaller machine to do 5 holes as soon as we had access based on the weather there, because this is at 9,000 feet. So we got a very small rig, and given I had 10 years in the drilling industry, I do have a passion for drilling. So we got up there and we started drilling, and we did find that the core recovery from the smaller machine going through the mineralised material wasn't at an acceptable level. So we've mobilised a much larger machine, and now we are getting 90 to 100% core recovery. So basically core material, we are drilling with a diamond drill rig, and just for your viewers, it's a diamond encrusted drill bit, and a core, a solid rock sample comes up through the inner tube when you're drilling, and that is a very, very accurate way of drilling. And we have 2 holes that have just recently been completed, and those samples have been sent off to the lab, and we're talking a delay of about 3 to 4 weeks for finally getting some good assay results from the Lone Pine project.
And then you release those results, obviously, to the marketplace. Suffice to say, in 1907, they weren't drilling with these rigs, with these machinery, were they?
They didn't have drill rigs at all. They were just using manual labour to follow the vein, and the vein is very consistent. And so the drilling we have done to date, we have encountered the vein exactly when the geologists had calculated, and that shows that it's a lot of consistency there from a geological model, which gives us a lot of confidence and comfort that we are on a good project, very good project.
And that's amazing. And with the weather, it still is summertime over there, so there is still a open window, if you will.
Yes, definitely. Until potentially sort of mid-November. The winter season did sort of extend a little bit this year. So obviously we can't control the weather and it's very unpredictable. And so we started there in June. Some years you start there in May, but there's a sort of a 7-month exploration season, and we'll be very well organised next year to get in there and extend that drilling program. I recently acquired an adjoining project called the King Solomon project from ASX-listed company Jervois Mining, and that project was historically mined as well around the same time as the Lone Pine project, and it has very similar geology. So that is another focus of our attention for the geologists, and we've just completed the due diligence on that, and we'll be announcing to the market the closure of that deal very soon.
Fantastic. And can you just, I think it's always worth, spending a couple minutes on it if it's right there. Can you just tell us a little bit about it and what's, obviously it's top of mind, what attracted you to the Solomon project?
The King Solomon project is 900 metres away from the Lone Pine project, and it has been previously drilled, unlike the Lone Pine project, and it was drilled with reverse circulation drilling, and there were some substantial hits on that, like 18 metres at 3.6 grams per tonne. And there's about 3 adits on the property where the old miners had worked the ground, very similar again to Lone Pine. So this gives us the opportunity to bulk out the project and build a larger resource base. We've started the due diligence with rock chip sampling, mapping, etc. We'd like to get to that project before the end of the season with drilling, but that's possibly a bit difficult at the moment. We'll stay focused on Lone Pine for the drilling and do the general exploration on the King Solomon project. One of the pluses with the King Solomon project is that it came with a database, and that is like a regional database. So we didn't pay too much for that project, but the data that we obtained was worth significant amounts to us to help us improve and steepen our learning curve for this region. So we're really happy with that acquisition.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it sounds incredibly synergistic, if nothing else.
Yes.
And also you can then bolt on the same people that you have in that area as well. I mean, literally 900 meters away is incredible. And it sounds like that database alone is probably worth more than what you paid for it.
Totally. Many times over. Absolutely.
So. Absolutely. And can you just tell us a little bit more, any other little hidden gems in the portfolio that we may know about?
Yes. So what we also have is, from a corporate planning point of view, we have this project, the Lone Pine project in Idaho. It's quite centrally located, and it's just outside of a town called Salmon, and we can get all the infrastructure we need up there, but we are locked out of the project during the winter. Quite a harsh winter, and we wouldn't really, until we advance the project, we wouldn't be looking to drill in the winter months. So we have a project down in Utah called Western Desert, and that is basically west of Salt Lake City, near the border of Nevada. And that is what we call in elephant country. It's a very unexplored area. We've had some high-grade copper and gold hits from rock chip sampling, and there's small test pits on the area. This project is less advanced than Lone Pine, but it's a structural analysis of looking at the trends in this general area. So we're talking about areas in Nevada that are where the large gold companies in North America operate. So that's why we say we're chasing elephants in that area. And we will be drilling that in the winter months in the US, because it's lower lying and it does have access. So we have a combination of projects that we can advance all year round. And people in the industry know the Cortez trend and the Carlin trend, and it hosts some of the biggest gold mines in the world. We're in an area to the east of that, and it's an area that has very similar geological signatures to both those trends, but has had very little exploration over many years. So we think that there could be a hidden little gem in there, and we're very excited about that. In addition, we do have a lithium project, and that was the focus of our attention up until the current year, and that is a sedimentary project. It's in Arizona, great place to work, and we have Bureau of Land Management ground. We have a large area of 25 square kilometres, and we have drilled only 4% of the land holding and come up with a JORC resource of 320,000 tonnes of lithium carbonate equivalent. And I understand that people wouldn't be that knowledgeable on the lithium space, but that is an in-ground value of around $1 billion. Now, we have to drill the balance of the land holding at some point in time, but our focus is gold and our focus is the Lone Pine project. We'll advance the lithium project on a slower basis and stay focused on gold.
Yeah, Lone Pine just sounds incredible. Now, one quick question, obviously, and as you know as an accountant, it takes money to run a business. You're drilling right now. How is the balance sheet at this point in time?
Yes, we did a placement at 0.06 of a cent, and that came with a free attaching option, and that went to my high net worth individual friends and loved ones and investor group, and they then exercised those options early, which I'm very grateful that they did, and that brought in about $1.8 million recently. So that has financed the exploration effort at Lone Pine. Once we come out with some good drill results, we'll look to see if we can advance the exploration effort. And as you know, that takes money. So we would look to potentially do a raise after that and
Fantastic.
to advance the project.
Makes all the sense in the world. Well, these are sharp, short interviews. In closing, are there any words that you'd like to leave our audience with?
Just to let the audience know that we are a nimble West Australian-based company operating in the US. All the directors are major shareholders. We're very focused on shareholder wealth creation, and we try to get the biggest bang for our buck in regards to exploration and drilling. And our geological director has a policy of find it or leave it. And so we don't have a package of projects that we're just going to wholesale there and just leave them there. We get in there and we get things done. We've been operating in the US for over 15 years, and we have a great network of people, and we're getting through the COVID-19 issues without sending our geologists to the US, because we have on-ground people that we've worked with extensively who are also shareholders in the company.
Excellent. So everybody has a vested interest, which is obviously a business lesson that we can all apply to all of our businesses. Paul Lloyd, Paul, thank you very much for your time, and please keep in touch.
All right. Thank you.